Okay, we're here today on RealAgriculture.com with Dr. Dan Leroy. Dan is Associate Professor in the Economics Department at the University of Lethbridge. Welcome, Dan.
Hello.
Hey, Dan, today we're going to talk about the economy, and the economy specific to agriculture. There's been a lot of people chatting or hearing some things on TV and radio about agriculture is immune from some of the economic downturn that we've been seeing over the 12 to 18 months. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay. I think it's false to say that agriculture, particularly in Canada, that agriculture is immune to the financial crisis that has gripped the globe. In fact, I think that the seeds may be sown to have another financial crisis in agriculture in Canada. And part of the reason is, I think, in the United States, where governments are deficit financing programs and a lot of money is being printed. And as the money supply is increased and more U.S. dollars enter circulation, the U.S. dollar is going to fall relative to other currencies, and this has important impacts for Canadian agriculture because most of agriculture in Canada is export-oriented. As the U.S. dollar falls relative to the Canadian dollar, it will become more expensive for consumers in the United States to purchase products produced in Canada, which is going to be bad for primary producers. It's also going to pose part of a threat, I think, even in supply-managed industries, because as the U.S. dollar falls, it becomes cheaper for consumers in Canada to import products from the United States. And even in the case of dairy, where you've got import tariffs of 200% and 300%, if the U.S. dollar falls far enough, these import barriers are going to be breached, and it's conceivable that we could have a flood of imports of dairy products and eggs or poultry. So the idea that somehow agriculture is immune to the financial crisis, I think, is incorrect. Another aspect that I think is concerning is the fact that at some point interest rates are going to rise. And there are a lot of farm businesses in Canada, I think, that are carrying a lot of debt, which can be financed at low interest rates. But as soon as the interest rates start to rise, I think we're going to see increasing financial difficulties. So there's two things going on here simultaneously. One is that it's going to be more difficult to export into the U.S. market. And number two, it's going to be more costly to acquire financing. And I think these two facts, these two conceivable outcomes are going to make it very challenging for some enterprises in Canada.
So, what kind of agricultural operations are best fitted? If this reality does come true, what kind of operations are the best suited to weather or tackle this sort of environment?
Well, I think the enterprises that are managed by market-oriented producers, individuals who are not reliant on just the U.S. market for their production, people who can diversify in terms of selling to consumers in other countries. So I think the managerial aspect is going to be very important. I think it's going to be difficult for supply-managed industries and producers in supply-managed industries. I think of all the commodity groups, they're probably carrying the most debt, and it's going to be challenging. I think what we're seeing in hogs at the moment in Canada, government programs to encourage people to exit the industry, or programs to if somebody can prove that they're financially viable. I don't know how you do that given the current conditions in the hog business. But if I can see this also happening in other industries because of adverse economic circumstances.
Okay, Dan, so Canada is mainly an exporting nation in regards to agriculture. How much falls on that fact that we export so much with the economy?
Well, the fact that producers in Canada are supplying and meeting the wants of consumers outside the country has enabled agriculture to expand much more in Canada than it would otherwise. Again, looking at the hog situation as an example, there's a lot of discussion at the moment, particularly in Ontario, that perhaps supply management is the solution to problems in the hog industry. And although there are all kinds of political and legal hurdles that would have to be cleared, and challenges both at the level of NAFTA and at the WTO, this would involve a massive decrease in the quantity produced of hogs and pork in Canada, and the imposition of very large import taxes to protect domestic producers from foreign competition. Conceivably, all of agriculture in Canada could be operated on a supply-managed business, but it would result in a much smaller industry, a higher cost industry, and ultimately one that's less competitive internationally.
Yeah, I've heard that speculation at times, even with the beef business, through some of its trials after BSE, and I think the reality is, my speculation would be that something like that, even if it got to fruition, would never even WTO would never be accepted.
It won't.
Yeah. So, okay, Dan. Well, thank you very much, and we appreciate it very much.
Oh, you're welcome.